As the professor goes up on the soapbox, before we open up those phones, let me just say this. Democracy with Roe v. Wade going down, which is a part of a culture of rights. I mean, the right of a woman to choose. You don't have to be for or against abortion. It is about the right of a woman to make a choice. And this is particularly important for Black women and women of color, poor women. That is gone. And it's gone because of, they say all skin folk ain't kin folk, because in part of the now vocal leadership of one Clarence Thomas, that's right, Tom Ass. I will never forget when he was up for confirmation, there were Black leaders who will be made nameless who were talking about, oh, you know, give the brother a break, he's a brother. Well, that lets you know right off the bat, this is not just about skin color. This is about the content of your ideology, the content of your values. And when we say all skin folk ain't kin folk, we mean it in terms of your values, your ideology, what you stand for. And at our best, Black folk are not only for our own liberation, we stand for the liberation of all oppressed people. But this retrograde Clarence Thomas is out there undoing decades of culture of rights progress and threatening more. Because next, marriage equality is on the line and other issues. He wants to get all up in your stuff. And he's leading the way. He's now getting his voice up real strong. So culture rights is in danger. With the insurrection, Benny Thompson, you're leading this hearing. You're hearing democracy is in danger. You clearly see the forces of white supremacy and white nationalism in a way that, I mean, could Obama have ever had a white nationalist in the White House? No. Could he have done a smidget of what the Orange Man, I call him also Agent Orange, by way of Spike Lee, has done? Answer to that question is, would not have happened. And so we are looking at democracy in danger, in part because of MAGAism, not just the person, the philosophy of all of these. And you know what happened? The white folks, most of them who were sitting on the sidelines, who were not voting, have decided to vote, and they have snatched the Republican Party from up under the traditional conservatives who were bad enough. They just snatched it. So now you got the Looney Tunes and the conspiracy theorists, but all of that is about stopping Black people primarily, and brown people and people of color, and resisting the changes in terms of expanding this nation to be a more inclusive, cultural, ethnic, religious nation. They don't like it. They want the good old days of white male hegemony and patriarchy. And of course, we ain't going back, as John Lewis said. We're not going back. But the point to be remembered is that this decision of the Supreme Court was made possible because the Orange Man triumphed. I mean, who would have ever thought he would win in the first place? People didn't take him seriously, but he was serious of a heart attack. And there were people who were willing to put up with his egomaniacal personality, all of this nastiness and maliciousness that's about his personality, because the right wing had an agenda. And they were willing to look the other way because they understood that the judiciary matters, the judges, the federal judge, and the Supreme Court matters. Now on our side, ignored him. We ignored the Orange Man. Oh, I mean, we didn't like him, but we didn't like the bitch. What I mean by that, Hillary Clinton, oh, she did this, she did that, and this and that, as if there's some perfect candidate out there. The Supreme Court matters. Voting matters. I can guarantee you that if Hillary Clinton had won, she would not have appointed 3 retrograde, radical, right-wing judges to the Supreme Court who now will provide the judicial capstone for this retrograded agenda. If for no other reason, that alone was enough to vote for the bitch, you know, that people don't particularly like. And I don't like it. So let's talk about it. And somebody said the other day, I was with someone in a conversation and the person was talking about voting. They said, you ain't voting for Jesus. We ain't talking about voting for Jesus. So all of them have their difficulties and their contradictions, even the best of them. But for me, it was not even a lesser evil choice. It was clearly the better choice. When you look at the reality of having to make critical choices when you're dealing with mature, and I don't mean that in any pejorative sense, mature decisions about how to advance the race and how to advance the nation. So the Supreme Court matters and voting matters. And the Black vote matters. I have said over and over again, the biggest political party in America is not the Democrats, it's not the Republicans, it is non-voters. In the last election, for all of the hullabaloo about how many people turned out to vote, and it was a record turnout by American standards, somewhere just north of 60% of the eligible voters in this country voted. But guess what? If you're in Canada, if you were in England, France, Germany, Italy, the numbers are somewhere in the neighborhood of 85%, 90%. There were 80 million people in the last election, 80 million who did not vote. You look at Kentucky, Reverend Yeri pointed out, I can guarantee you there are enough Black votes, and I'm not accusing us, I'm not blaming us, I'm just saying, I'm just laying out there. There's enough Black votes in Kentucky alone to defeat Rand Paul, who, if not openly, implicitly, his policies are anti-Black. And that is true across the margin. They're not talking about the Republicans in the suburbs are returning back to the Republican Party. But guess what? When you look at that map, and Steve Karnacki, who's really good at it, he's talking about, well, you know, the rural areas have come in Pennsylvania, but we're waiting on the vote from where? Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Guess where that is? That's where we be at. That's where the Black people's at. Now, the question is, how many of the Black people will actually turn out and vote? Because if we turn out and vote, we will outvote those in the suburbs, because all of them ain't gonna vote. Which means we have power disproportionate to our numbers. And our battle cry ought to be, we ain't letting nobody turn us around. And I've said over and over again, anytime, and Reverend Yeri confirmed it, anytime people are trying to stop you from doing something, that says, you better check it out. Particularly if white folks try to stop you from doing something, because they understand that those who vote will control public policy. You're gonna go out here tomorrow, you're gonna stop at that red light. You're not going out here without no insurance in the state of New York. You're gonna have your seatbelt on. You're gonna do a whole lot of things. Why? Because it was determined by public policy. You're gonna do that. If you voted on it, fine, don't matter. Somebody voted on it, and that becomes the public policy. Well, we got a whole lot of things that we need to deal with in terms of public policy, not the least of which is reparations. And the need to really bust up this white nationalist hegemonic plot. Now, do we need to do more than that in terms of the empire and transforming this nation? You damn well we need to do that. But the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, with the vision of knowing where we're going. And so Black votes matter. And let's be about the business of organizing and galvanizing those Black votes for this forthcoming election. And some of y'all need to get out here tomorrow and get into some exercise. I don't care if they put the voting box in the desert. We coming. 212-209-2877.